Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and you're going to hear my intro a second time because I've already made the rest of the video. I just wanted to come back here at the beginning and say spoilers ahead, which was something I didn't think I would delve too deeply into, but apparently I did. So, spoilers, last chance, spoilers. Spoilers. Is that enough? I feel like that's enough. Spoilers. Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today I'm going to be talking about something that's come up a few times over the last current campaign, and that is the sort of destruction or rewriting of Matt's world of Exandria to erase everything, the gods, characters, the locations, and sort of restart. And this sort of conversation comes up a handful of times every few months. So the first time it came up was because of the whole OGL thing, where it sounded like everyone was trying to distance themselves from Wizards of the Coast, D&D, as much as possible. And while for Critical Role, it was to, the belief was to still play D&D or to play something similar, maybe even go to Pathfinder, and still, distance themselves so they can keep their world, but change a lot of things about it. So that, like, the whole rewritten thing, that's the whole point of Root, is to restart everything, to rewrite things, blah, blah, blah. Now the conversation has come back up because of Daggerheart, and that people think that Matt is trying to kill off the gods and to sort of use Ruidus to reset everything, or Predathos to reset everything, so that his world is his world. There's nothing about the gods from the D&D world, any of the realms from the D&D world, etc., etc. I don't think this is true. I don't think this is the whole point of this campaign, is to rewrite anything, change up his world, distance themselves from D&D. I don't think this is true. I think there's a bit of, distancing themselves, because it definitely feels like Daggerheart is where they're going to after this campaign. But I have a few reasons as to why I don't think erasing the world is going to happen, nor is it necessary. So I want to start this conversation with a DM perspective of rewriting your world and what you could do or how it would feel to do such. And that is, it won't feel great, to be totally honest, to take everything that you've made, especially what Matt has made, Exandria, with such a rich backstory, lore, history, with interesting characters, locations, and, each of them having their own varying history that either ties in with each other, or goes against each other, or is completely separate and by its own, and has different locations and different climates depending on where you are. It's really rich and really interesting, and to sort of have to rewrite all that, to erase that, to, and anything that comes after that, to rewrite it and to change it, will either feel like some sort of copy of it, because it'll be like, oh, the locations are all named the same sort of thing, but there's a little bit of a different history to them, and all the characters that we liked from, from previous campaigns, they're not exactly the same, but they're similar. That sort of stuff will just feel like a cheap copy for a lot of people, or they just won't be there at all, and it'll be completely different, and it won't feel as good as the original. A lot of people say the sequel is never as good as the original, and in world building in this sense, on this scale for Matt, would be crazy. It would be like from Tolkien going and writing Middle Earth to something completely different, maybe Earth Middle, right? It would be what it would be like. So it wouldn't feel good from a DM perspective to take this rich, interesting place and make a copy or make a sequel to it after I've made this beautiful thing. I would rather keep it and change a few things about it in the current standing of it so that it fits moving forward with what we need. The next thing to look at is the gods, and this is a big thing for a lot of people, for their reasoning as to why Matt would want to sort of reset the world, because he doesn't want to share the D&D gods. He doesn't want their gods to be the same as his gods. He wants his own set of gods. Thus, killing them all off with Predathos is a good one. Good thing to do. And that will lead to the reset of the world somehow, in a lot of their opinion, because that's what Matt wants more, rather than to continue doing his world that's connected to D&D. He would rather kill everything off and reset. I disagree. First and foremost, a lot of the gods that are used in D&D aren't solely owned by D&D. If you look at the player's handbook, there is like literally 100 plus gods. So it's impossible to realistically look at them all and be like, which god here is original? Some gods are literally just the same with a different name. Because there's literally, like, fake gods that people would follow in D&D worlds, then they literally put real world gods, I'm putting quotations around real world gods, and they put them in the book. There's Greek gods, Egyptian gods, etc. There's a ton of gods in these books, and with very little description of them, by the way. So it's very impossible to sort of have a very creative, interesting new type of god. There's a ton in these books already. So realistically, there are some that are being used that are virtually clones of other gods. And in real world examples, the Greeks created the Greek pantheon, and the Romans took them and changed their names, which is all Matt would have to do to realistically be able to move forward with these same gods and keeping them there, which he's already done. He's given them a bunch of regional names depending on where they are, and all he'd have to do is be like, I'm subtly going to change all of their regional names to their actual names, and bam, he's set in stone. He doesn't have to worry about it too much. They've already done this with a handful of them. In fact, I'm pretty sure the animated series uses those regional names instead of the regular names that they would regularly have. So yeah, there you go. The animated series is already doing this, so it's not a big deal. Which might worry some people about Vecna, because Vecna, I believe, is owned by Wizards. But I digress. The point being, there's a ton of gods out there. Some of them are literally clones of other gods within the same book. So for him to have to change all the gods, kill them all off, and then again reintroduce gods that fill almost the exact same role would be, pointless. Unless he's going to make all the players those gods, which would be weird and a very big stretch for a lot of them. But that is one way to do it and still have the players feel rewarded for doing their job and making sure that the campaign goes the good way, which is where the players are currently leaning. Another thing, a handful of the gods that D&D uses, they don't own them. Asmodeus, Behemoth, those are in the Bible. Those are actual real world gods within the Forgotten Realms setting. So realistically, there's already a bit of a conflict here for the gods that I don't know if D&D would be able to sort of fight back on if Matt continued to use those names in his sort of own game. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure that Critical Role has a decent relationship, if not a very good relationship, with Wizards of the Coast, and I wouldn't doubt if there's some sort of agreement that they're allowed to use these gods, so there's not a big, hoopla about everything that's going on, because I don't know if Wizards could win that fight, because, again, they use a million god names already that are taken from other sources as well, so it's kind of impossible to, sort of argue that they own these gods. So, yeah, realistically, I don't think the whole god thing is a big issue for Daggerheart or for Critical Role moving forward. So next I want to come at this from a player perspective, like from the story itself, from the characters. So it's kind of interesting to sort of look at right now with the divide between the Wildmount group and the Isildur group. And what's interesting about it is they're sort of on, opposite sides of the spectrum with this. One team in the Wildmount side has been contacted by the gods through FCG to begin to help them, to move forward in helping the gods, and to protect them because they need the help from their champions right now. Both FCG and Deanna feel this. They need help. The gods need help. And they sort of saw the negative effects of what happens when the gods aren't around. They saw that the city of Uthodurn is losing power, is losing lights. Things are waking up because of the solstice, and the gods couldn't really help them there. And they're seeing a whole bunch of weird stuff happening because of the lack of god intervention. People are losing faith. People are getting scared. People are nervous. People are afraid. And a whole bunch of interesting stuff is going on around them. And then you look at Team Isilra. Team Isilra seems to be super anti-god right now, especially Ashen and Laudna, with Orym sort of sitting on the fence. With both Ashen and Laudna saying, screw them, I don't really care about them. It's more about stopping lewdness, and Orym sort of backs that up. All the while, Orym by himself prays to God, or to the Wild Mother specifically, and, he's sort of on the, the fence right now. He sits in the middle, and I get the feeling once he meets up with Team Wildmount, he's going to actually side with them with the whole thing. But to sort of move back to Team Isilra, they saw people sort of rise up. They saw something positive in their minds at the time, what they believed to be positive, of people rising up and going over oppression, getting rid of the oppression of this, temple who's pushing these people down, who's making sure that these people can't really live the way they want to. They want to be free of the gods and the gods' influence, but this temple is pushing them down, so they help them get free. But then in the end, it's revealed that two people that they worked with to forward this plan are very anti-God to begin with. One of them, being Bor'dor, is literally a member of the Ruby Vanguard and is looking to eliminate the gods and eliminate the party, and raise up Ludinus and the Brood is Born to be the leaders. But then you also have Abadina, who was a Hishari member who looks to sort of bring back the primordials as the rulers of the world and wants to get rid of the gods in her own very selfish right. So none of these, neither of these two players or these two characters were looking to be positive with this change. They were very negative with this change and wanting to be rid of the gods' influence on this town. So at the same time, where you see the two different sides of these coins and the two different sides of the spectrum, you see that the players are both against and for the gods, but the team who is against the gods have been given plenty of reason to go with the gods because the people they've been working with are so negative in their own right to where you wish they want to help the gods. And it seems that Matt wants to push them into helping the gods, but I feel like Laudna and Ashton have sort of missed this. Orym seems to have picked up on it, but Ashton and Laudna seem to be against the gods still, even though one of the people they were working with is anti-God, people thinking of their own free will. They just want their own sort of rulers. They want change. They want to be in power, which is the Ruby Vanguard. So, very interesting look from that perspective, because you get to see the negative aspects of losing the gods, and then you get to see people rise up against the gods, and it's very interesting. But I think the mark was mildly missed, and Matt was trying to say, without the gods, things are kind of negative. But now he's sort of fallen into this whole thing of it could be good, could be bad, we don't know, which is a mild issue, which is where I think a lot of this is spawning from, or a lot of this sort of, are the gods going to be reset? I think that's where this is coming from. Now, as a viewer of Critical Role, I want to sort of ask a question to sort of wrap all this up. If Matt were to rewrite the world and to erase everything, what does that mean for Campaign 1 and 2? For Campaign 3, it means it was the campaign that sort of rewrote everything. It's incredibly important because everything that's happened up to this point and throughout this campaign changed the world as we know it. But that would mean Campaign 1 and Campaign 2 are effectively not worth anything. They would no longer be worth having. It would be like Elsewhere stories for whatever reason that you could watch, but you don't have to because it no longer has any bearing. Campaign 3 is the one that changed everything, and then the campaigns moving forward will be the new world. Which, as a viewer, kind of sucks, because the Vox Machina group and the Mighty Nine group won't theoretically exist. Technically, neither will the Bell's Hells. If they were to sort of rewrite everything, to rewrite the whole world, would change their histories, which to me is just kind of shit. Honestly, I would rather that not happen. I like these characters. I don't like the whole, every once in a while I reboot my thing, and now the world's semi-similar, but now my characters are gone. And as a player, that would suck. For all of the things that you've done up to this point with different groups, i.e. Mighty Nine and Vox Machina, to be worthless, sucks. It really does suck. And I can't say that Campaign 3, the Bell's Hells group, did anything worthless because they did reset the world. So, yeah, personally don't like this idea of resetting the world just for that aspect alone of erasing my players' characters. That just sounds shitty to me. So now, after all that's been said and done, what do you think? Do you think the world is going to be reset? Do you think we're going to just win the day and the gods are going to be saved? Do you think we're going to lose some gods and someone else is going to have to rise up? I personally think that's the most likely one because Predathos is kind of halfway out. So, what do you think? Let me know down below, and I will see you guys on Friday for the recap. Peace.